Hey, hi, and hello. It's Sam here. And, we just finished our tour, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who came. We had so much fun meeting so many beautiful faces across this great nation. And, now the tour, well, it's in the past. And it's time to live in the present. And by that, I mean to tell you that I'm doing my solo show Club Comic this week, September 21st, Thursday, at the Bell House. Club Comic is my solo show that's club tracks, videos, stand up. It's gonna freak your ass out and be so much fun. Julio Torres is opening the show, and I don't need to tell you that that's a pretty good get, sweethearts. So it's going to be so much fun. I urge you to get tickets in my bio. And, tour, let's just say I lost myself. And now that I'm back doing the show in New York City at the Bell House on Thursday, let's just say I'm going to comedy my way back to the woman my mother raised me to be. Shout out to Cheryl Strayed, shout out to Wild. So, get tickets Thursday, September 21st, Club Comic. Okay, love you. Enjoy the episode. Bye. Okay, podcast starts now. What's up, every single person on this globe? I don't care if you are LGBTQIA or plus, you are hearing my words right now, and that is what is important. George, how are you?
What's up? I actually had an experience last night that I thought maybe would be fun to talk about, which is I did a comedy show. I won't say where, but it was for a sort of wealthy audience. I'll say that.
Oh,
We are talking, I would say, not exactly a gala space, but I would say people that have attended galas in the past.
how could you tell they were wealthy? What were their signifiers?
There was post office. There were post office looks. There were quite literally briefcases.
Oh, wow.
People were, although you know what, though, I actually was thinking about this. I feel like in this day and age, holding a briefcase is almost like it's like having the LV Louis Vuitton bag rather than the one that you can't tell. Like it's nouveau riche.
It's vintage.
Whereas the real rich people are wearing like ripped t-shirts and are at Burning Man currently.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it was it was an upwardly mobile upper middle class crowd that desperately wanted to be invited to galas, if that makes sense. Nevertheless, there was a wealth emanating from the crowd. Something you often don't get in the comedy shows that we do. I don't know about you, but personally, I think it's a miracle if anyone has a 401k in the audiences that I perform in front of.
Yeah, well, I actually do. I host that weekly show I told you about that's only for oil barons. And
of course.
So I'm kind of used to lots of cash being thrown around.
That's true. And of course, I have my partnership with the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
They haven't paid me in months, so we need
I mean, don't get me wrong, I still do the show for free. I just like to know that the audience is wealthy.
Well, yeah, I mean, that way I can at least not pity them. I hate when I feel like I'm better than an audience.
Yeah, if I make more, even close to the same amount as the audience, I feel bad for them.
When I'm at a comedy show, I want to know that whatever the audience is doing, indirectly it is making me less rich. Like just numbers wise, I'm like, after a day of their work, my bank account is lower.
Well, I've always considered myself a court jester, and you can really only feel court jester if there's a king present.
You are exactly right. No, it is true that comedians are court jesters, and it's like, okay, well, if we're performing in front of middle-class people, then what is the point? What am I supposed to do, make fun of the middle class? No.
I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to speak truth to power. How am I going to do that if power's not in the room?
Power's not in the room. So I was at this show, and past guest Brian Bahi went on before me, and he had a joke that I'm not remembering right now that was about the Kennedys. And as soon as he said the name Kennedy, people fell silent. And he addressed it. He was like, "Oh, do you guys like love the Kennedys?" And people again like would not laugh. And he moved on, and his set went really well. And he did other jokes that were not about the Kennedys. And then I got up, and you know how I am. I have to address, if there's awkwardness, I have to address it because of my alt comedy training. Mm-hmm. If I'm not doing that, then who is there jesting the court? Not I. So I got up and I said, I think I know why people got silent when Brian Bahi mentioned the Kennedys. We're in a sort of gala-like space. I bet you in New York, when you're in a gala-like space in any sort of blue state, there is a Kennedy in the room. And I said that thinking, I understand it's not the most perfect joke I've ever crafted, but I said,
It's close.
thank you. I said, oh, people will, it's sort of, again, it's doing court jesting and that I'm making fun of a rich crowd. The way they were immediately silent once again. And then I dug myself further. I was like, is there a Kennedy here? Caroline? Where's Caroline? I was trying so hard to like get people to laugh and they would not. And I was like, I got off stage and I was like, by the way, I brought it around and I crushed. But
of course,
when I got off stage, I said there was a Kennedy in there. There quite literally was. There is no other explanation.
I think there was a Kennedy there. That's crazy. Are you going to put that as your new credit? Performed for a Kennedy?
For a Kennedy, but I'm not sure which one. Or maybe you also just never know where funding comes from. Like maybe, to be honest, I don't know who was funding this comedy show. All I know is that there were people there holding briefcases. It could have very easily been funded by the Kennedy Comedy Foundation. Kennedy Center honors even.
Well, I was going to say, were you performing potentially at the Kennedy Center?
Wait, was I being honored at the Kennedy Center?
That could have been your issue, is that you were being honored at and by the Kennedy Center.
Now that you mention it, I was actually being honored by and at the Kennedy Center, and then I got up and immediately started doing jokes about the Kennedys.
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough.
That is absolutely my bad. And if any Kennedys are out there listening, I really appreciate the award, and I will go out there and I will do my best, and I will make people laugh without disparaging the Kennedys from here on out.
Well, I just want to say, I think it's powerful for you to tell a story. And I think what's funny about talking about stand-up is that you do actually have to say every single time you talk about it, like, and don't get me wrong, I did well. Like if one does not say that, good luck. People are going to assume you're telling a story in which you did bad, and they're going to run with that, and they're going to tell all their friends, yeah, he actually bombed, as if they were there.
Yeah. I think maybe you're less like this, but I feel like I am almost in a narcissistic way self-deprecating after a show where it's like, no one actually cares how well you did. Just be like, if someone says good job, be like, thank you. But it's like, if someone says good job to me, I'm always like, no, I can't believe that joke didn't go well. No, I forgot my line and I forgot what I was saying. Blah, blah, blah. And then usually people are like, no, you did fine, blah, blah. But then sometimes someone will ask you like, how was the show? Someone who was not there. And you'll say like, ugh, I bombed or whatever. And then they'll be like, oh, well, that's okay. And you want to be like, no, I did fine. I was being self-deprecating.
One time after like the worst bomb of my entire life, in which I famously bombed in front of a cast member of HBO's Girls while HBO's Girls was on the air, sweetheart, I ran into a friend on the street who does comedy, and I was like, wow, I fucking suck. I bombed so hard. I've never been more embarrassed in my entire life. And he was just sort of like, yeah, well, maybe you need to work on it. And I was like,
no.
That's not what I'm telling you this for. I'm telling you this for you to pat me on the back like a peer and like a brother and tell me it's going to be okay. And tell me the audience is stupid and HBO's Girls, they don't have taste, and that I'm perfect and beautiful.
Sam, you can't say that's taking it too far. I think if that person was like, well, actually HBO Girls sucks and Lena Dunham has no talent, you'd be like, well, no. If Lena Dunham, we need Lena Dunham to have talent so that anything we do matters. You know what I mean?
True.
It trickles right down.
Well, you know what I wanted to maybe talk about in the intro, but maybe we actually might not have time, and also was maybe completely irrelevant, but something that was making me angry the second before we started recording.
Perfect intro. What is it?
Is that I think I am sick and tired of everyone doing man on the street stuff. I think there should be a license to be able to hold a microphone on the street in someone's face. Even just the amount of let's make it okay. I was gonna say gay men, and I'm like, no, small gay men. The amount of Twinkie gay men, Twinkie white gay men doing man on the street content is already, there's about 25 of them, and they're identical except they have different accents.
It's a slippery slope when not you, Sam, when one makes critiques like this, because I so often find myself wanting to say something similar. And then, actually I was thinking about this when we were on tour. I was looking at some posters and I'm like, wow, they'll let anyone in here. And then I was like, wait, we're a gay podcast.
I know.
You can't, it's like, we always are like, they've democratized media too much. They've democratized content too much. And I'm like, right, that's sort of why we are able to travel to Washington, D.C.
Don't get me wrong. I'm extremely self-aware. I'm literally just saying, like, I think there's quality no matter what. I'm not saying there should be 0 gay guys holding microphones in people's faces on a boardwalk in Santa Monica.
That would
I'm
be
just saying there shouldn't be 400 of them.
Do you think the Kennedy Center should have a task force that decides which of the various Twinkie white gay men that want to be man on the street influencers should be able to do it? Maybe a grant. I mean, this is what when I say bring back gatekeepers, I'm literally not talking about like old white men. I'm saying a diverse, in all ways, set of gatekeepers.
A diverse group of white gay twinks.
No. The white gay twinks are the talent. I'm talking about the people that are doing the gatekeeping. I want, women, LGBT. I want a panel that is giving these grants. Okay. Right. So you just have to replace the gatekeepers. We can't get rid of them altogether. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's genius. And I think, the Kennedy Center should honor more people, and we should really, and in fact, they should be honored with a license. And once they pass the test and get approved, then they can go do their man on the street bits.
Yeah. It's crazy to try. Imagine trying to explain to someone now, let's say someone who's 22 years old, that Billy on the street like made an impact. We're like, well, so the thing is he was gay and he was a man on the street. People are like, oh yeah, my cousin does that. Like, no.
No. Wrong.
No one was doing that then.
And it felt new and it was funny. This isn't funny. You can't just ask if people are top or bottom for the rest of your life. You have to have more substance. You have to have a point of view. It can't be he's a 7, but he is tall. I hate it. I'm sick of it
already. I love when you say that things must have substance. Have I told you, substance was like a really recurring word in my childhood because my dad would always be like, he has substance about someone that he thought was smart or that he thought was like sort of intellectually stimulating. And I always got it in my, like, it was I really internalized it. And when I was like, especially when I was in college or applying to jobs, it would be like, does what I'm doing have substance? And then of course the answer is always no.
No, this gay podcast has a lot of substance. Actually, we've actually talked very realistically about 2 things.
I agree, and
no one can ever take that away.
Not a single soul. And I actually think what would really help is bringing in a third man to talk about various other substantial things with us. What do you think?
I think that could be huge.
Perhaps the co-host. Oh my God, I'm already minimizing him. The solo host of the podcast. No, please, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, no, I think he's one of 3 hosts.
I don't know why I said co-host.
You're co-host, Phil. You're just used to it.
It's crazy. I'm like, well, a podcast is hosted by 2 gay guys. That's how a podcast works.
Well, how could one carry it all on his own?
Right, like when I stop talking and if you don't start, then what is there?
Yeah, silence? Then who talks?
Who talks? Anyway, you guys, please welcome the host of I Said No Gifts, Bridger Winegar.
Oh, you two! I feel like you've been chipping away at me for the last 5 minutes. As a small white gay man, and then this co-host bullshit.
I mean, I didn't want to say anything, but it's like, you really are sort of describing our guest, Sam.
I don't know his size.
I see it's clear. I think it's my energy.
Honestly, though, I was actually thinking about this. Because we've never met in person, I genuinely have no idea what your height is. And I honestly am like, it legitimately could go either. If you were like, I am 6'4", I would absolutely believe you.
I think you have tall energy.
I'm 6'4". No one believes
I do think you have tall energy, and in fact, when Sam was like little white gay man, I was like, I'm glad he said little, so that it's not, so that you're not implicated.
No, I'm small. I can't imagine someone thinking I'm tall. Maybe that's just a lie.
What's your height?
5'6".
Wow.
I'm telling you, like, whatever you are. First of all, not that everyone should be aiming to be 6'4", but I'm just saying, as a viewer. I was getting 6'4".
I was getting 6'1". I'm 5'11".
5'11". Oh, I should have guessed.
Why?
It would have been a good game. It would have been a nice good game, and then you would have, seen what I assume about you two from the very beginning. But
Sam is 1 inch taller than me, and it colors everything we do.
Do you consider yourselves? You're average. 5'10", 5'11", that's like an average height. That's not
I would say I'm average and Sam is tall.
Tall.
The 1 inch difference, I think they both count as average.
I feel like if you're in the 5s, you're average no matter what.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah. I mean, if you're sure, I
Well, until you're my size, and then you're small. But above
no.
5'6",
I was gonna be like, well, yeah, if you're 4'9", but then I was like, well, let's not make fun of let's not sort of mock anyone's height.
Well, it's not mocking to describe what someone's height is, you know what I mean?
Honey, in this climate.
Wow. I would love if George got canceled for making fun of people that are just a little short.
No, height is one of those things that I'm saying this in full earnestness. Like, I've never in my life had any preferences when it comes to height, but even talking about height is somehow such a like hot potato topic, don't you think?
It can be.
I feel like it is a much more sensitive topic with straight men.
That's true.
Yeah.
Way more sensitive.
That's true.
I feel like gay men, there's a little leniency as far as like, who cares?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit in our DC show recently, where I was saying that the status of being 6 feet is like a very heterosexual thing. And I do think it's true that gay men, if you're too tall, that's kind of hot. If you're too short, that's kind of hot. If you're in the middle, that's kind of hot. Like, I think you can kind of find anyone. Like, it's not like everyone wants the tall. It's like, yeah, that's hot. And like the short, it's like, ooh, that's hot. And don't get me wrong, gay men have many issues. They're not accepting people.
No.
In this particular thing, they are very open-minded.
I do think height is the only thing that gay men, and potentially specifically white gay men, are inclusive of.
Well, that's kind of beautiful in a way.
Yeah, I agree. So, Bridger, what's up?
I picketed this morning.
Slay.
My picketing has fallen off in a big way. Ever since I started, I did jury duty, and that kind of was like the speed bump in like unpaid obligations for me. And then the picketing slowed down. So I'm trying to go once a week.
That's respectful.
First of all, I can't believe I'm about to say this. When you said my picket had stopped when I started you cut off a very tiny bit of my computer, and I was like, jerking off?
I found jerking off, and I've just been at home ever since.
I haven't been picketing ever since I started jerking off. And then the other thing is, I would love this episode is coming out in a few weeks. I would love it if by that time the strike was over, but we didn't address it, and you sort of were this like figure, this cartoonish figure that was still picketing like a strike Wally, and had no idea that everyone else was back to work, and you were just like scab.
Just kind of in a set rhythm.
Yeah.
I can see myself falling into that. Right, exactly.
Were there any celebs on the line today?
Ooh.
There was somebody that I don't know who she is. My boyfriend was like, that's this lady from Glee, and I don't know who she was, but she kept saying hello to everyone she passed. So I think like in a way of like, here I am, and she said hello to us, and we had made no contact with her.
What color was her hair?
I didn't see her. I heard a hello, and he's like, that's the lady from, like, we walked past them. I did not recognize at all. And with a celebrity, you usually...
You know what I'm thinking?
Who?
Deanna Agron. That's what I'm thinking.
Could have been.
Don't you think, Sam?
I have no idea.
Well, she was in Shiva Baby, so I'm like, okay, comedy connection. I bet she knows people through Rachel. She's walking around and she's saying, hey, y'all, to all the alt comics.
Yeah, no, she's great, actually. I stand her.
Yeah, no, she's great.
But I feel like this person was saying hello to literally everyone, as though everyone knew who she was.
Okay, Leah Michelle.
Yeah, Jane Lynch, potentially.
Oh, or Jane Lynch. Actually, Leah Michelle or Jane Lynch just have like a condition where they go around saying hello to everyone and signing autographs, even if they're not asked. Yeah.
The celebs on the picket line is very confusing to me because like part of me is like, well, one, they're people and this is their job and their union. So of course they should be out there. At the same time, I'm sort of like, ooh, I hope when I go that somebody cool is there. It's like, that is so stupid.
It is always funny when they point a mic at them and they have to explain why they're striking. I don't want to disparage them too much, but often they don't know.
Of course they don't. Why would they have any idea? None of this touches them.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
God
it's
bless.
impressive that their assistant got them out there even.
Right. I saw just Alfred Molina quietly walking alone last week. And that felt like somebody who knew the issues. He was there for a reason.
Absolutely. I would say Alfred Molina has the gravitas of someone who, if he ran for office, I would vote for him in a heartbeat. I have no idea what his politics are. Same with, honestly, like, I'm thinking of there's a movie where he and John Lithgow played a gay couple, Love is Strange. I would vote for John Lithgow too. Honestly, if either of them was a politician, even either of them was a first husband, I'd be all in.
I have absolutely no proof of this, but John Lithgow is absolutely someone that could turn right wing any second. He has that energy.
I don't
and I mean
believe
this in a
that.
positive. I just think he has this energy where I'm like he reminds me of like, who's that? Like a John Voight or something. Where I'm like, I bet you could make a weird turn.
But I think Alfred Molina
late.
will always, though, be progressive. I think Alfred Molina.
Yeah.
And Lithgow,
because he has a professor's look.
Exactly.
Yes, a little disheveled.
Whereas John Lithgow has a more of a business school professor's look, which could go either way.
Right, and a posture.
Yeah.
More of
A posture.
The posture's there.
It's all hitting me all of a sudden. I'm realizing that the perfect way to age is to age in a professor direction. Like, the perfect way to get older is to look more and more like a professor over time.
No, that's actually that's true for both. Not to say both genders, for all genders, I would say that's true. First of all, there's a gender binary, and second of all, everyone should look like a professor. But I genuinely do. I'm like, because the sort of woman equivalent of that is like flowy, expensive Japanese robes.
Yeah,
there's an earthiness,
funky
to
glasses,
funky glasses, only like a thick eyeliner and nothing else.
Yeah, because there's a sexuality still there. You're
Absolutely.
like, I'm cheating on my spouse when you're a professor. There's like always an element of an affair.
If you're a professor and you're not fucking your research assistant, you are not being intellectually rigorous enough, and you can take that to the grave.
Yeah, if you're not, you're just not curious, and that's such a bad sign for someone that's in academia.
Yeah, you have to stay curious, even into tenure, all of this. You've got to.
Oh my God. Some people get complacent with tenure. They're not fucking the research assistants.
No way.
You have to have that hunger like before tenure.
Yes.
The English department at my school was like famous for like two of the professors used to be married, and then one of them fucked another professor, and all of them still worked there, but two of them had the same last name but were divorced. And it was this whole, like, there was so much drama going on, and I was like, wow, what an amazing English department. Like, they really understand the lust for life and like the power of and passion of words.
By the way, for anyone listening, I want to say, in terms of the power dynamic, in this scenario, the research assistant is a star of the movie. You're a side character. The research assistant is empowered, and they are attracted to power, and they are in charge.
They know what
anything
they want.
Other than that, I don't approve of.
And the research assistant is a man, and the professor is also a man. And the research
women do not belong in academia.
John Lithgow.
Yes, exactly. It's Timothy Chalamet is the research assistant, and he's constantly bending over and showing his tiny little butt to John Lithgow.
Wow. Well, that was really we painted a beautiful picture.
Seriously, you guys, congrats.
Congrats to everybody. I hear the Kennedy Center is emailing us to give us honors.
Yeah, they're like, we forgive George.
Say anything you want about any Kennedy.
Sam, should we do our first segment, do you think?
I actually think that could be a genius idea. Bridger, our first segment is called Straight Shooters, and in this segment, we will ask you a series of rapid-fire questions to gauge your familiarity with and complicity in straight culture. The questions are basically this thing or this other thing, and the only follow-up rule is you can't ask any follow-up questions, or we'll scream at you as loud as we can and break our microphones.
Yeah, you think we're being abrasive now? Just you wait, mister.
Yeah. iHeartRadio will be billed for 2 new microphones because we will have broken ours through screaming at you.
Yeah, good luck getting invited back to the Kennedy Center, mama.
That being said, are you ready to play?
Yes. I'm gonna let me just focus, bring myself into the game. I won't be asking any questions.
All right.
Okay. Bridger, getting doxxed by Swifties or finding God at 50?
getting doxxed by Swifties.
Wow. Okay, Bridger. Giving a naturalistic performance or having a fatalistic queer romance?
Fatalistic queer romance.
Yeah, you gotta.
Okay. Plenty of fish in the sea or a lacking of efficiency?
Plenty of fish in the sea.
Optimistic.
Okay. Producing sponsored content for a brand or producing an offensive accent on command?
Oh. Oh my god, that one is extremely hard for me.
I agree.
I'm going to say sponsored content for a brand.
Wow. Okay. TikTok on the clock, but the party don't stop? Or Rick Ross is a boss and he's goated with the sauce?
Rick Ross.
God, after all these years, he still makes me laugh. Okay, Bridger. Having an age gap with your wife or fixing the wage gap by murdering your male boss with a knife?
Wife.
Okay. We're going to need a bigger boat or we're going to need a smaller carbon footprint?
Boat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Asking permission from the old ball and chain or being denied admission from Penn, Harvard, and Yale?
Ball and chain.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to be honest. I think we rate all of our guests on a scale of 1 to 1,000 doves. And I think that was like 992 doves.
I agree. It was actually one of the best performances we've had in a while.
Well, what was amazing about it was we could tell that there was discomfort there. There was full discomfort on your end. You were asking yourself a lot of questions, but you never vocalized any of those questions.
Well, it wasn't until It wasn't until the very last question that I thought this is supposed to be rapid fire and I'm taking a lot of time for each question.
No.
You are so hard on yourself. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Thank you for saying that.
Bridger, you strike plenty, first of all, and you answer those questions with in the right amount of time, I would have to argue.
I hope everyone hears this. We've got to get this episode out there.
And everyone will, to be clear.
We're making
are
this a clip.
Very popular podcast, and we do Instagram Reels weekly.
So get ready, because this is coming to Times Square on those little video
That's
screens.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm sort of like, should we just get into the topic?
I think maybe we should.
Okay. All right, Bridger. I'm torn between just like going into the topic or even like doing a little what the two ones that we were debating between
I think
are.
that's a good idea because I've still like the one
let's
that
do it.
wasn't
Let's do it.
chosen feels like for some reason within me that feels like the real topic. Or the
Okay.
thing that more people
Wow.
should be talking about.
It's always the one that got away.
It's the one that got away, and I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how about you give us both topics, and it'll be a surprise which one makes it to the title of the ep.
Okay, I will say the one that we kind of agreed on was post-credit scenes. But we all,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think literally everyone on the planet is kind of aware and maybe slightly bothered by those at this point.
Yes.
The other
Yeah.
thing is a little bit more, I think it needs more to be, we've got to get it out there, is one-shot takes in movies. The uninterrupted shot that takes 5 minutes and everyone is always so dazzled by.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. So what about that feels straight to you?
To me, first of all, it's the absolute lack of thinking about other people's jobs in order to serve your vision. It's, I had this idea, and now I don't care what it takes to get there. So I don't care if everybody has to count down in their head to start their walk into the scene or do whatever. It's a very straight. It's also on the other side, the viewer. The only people I ever find really impressed by this are straight men.
100%. You are hitting the nail on the head because from the side of the filmmaker, it's like, it's the definition of like auteurish. Like it's an auteur that wants to do something technically impressive. And then from the people watching it, it's like you're in the know because you're like, did you see that was one take?
Exactly. And no one ever cares. It's like, oh, I didn't notice.
Right, exactly. The average person's like, that was actually Cate Blanchett.
It's it's like the way that people drool for a one take. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I like them, but I like lots of things in movies. Like it's like do you remember when True Detective season 1 had like the big one take shot that this was like peak sort of BuzzFeed culture, and there were like all these headlines that were like, must see this one shot, like this one clip from episode 4 of True Detective is going viral, and I was like, hold on, but is the show good?
Totally.
Like, and it was like, that's not that was never the point at all.
You know what I felt that way about Birdman? Remember how Birdman, the whole thing was that it was like it was almost all one take. Like they had, obviously there were some transitions, but it was like a series of very long single takes. And everyone's like, did you know it was all one take? And I was like, well, did you know it was Emma Stone's worst performance to date? Because who's talking about that?
That's what we need to focus on.
Because who's talking about that? Certainly not IndieWire.com.
They're using it as it's a distraction.
Well, it's almost like a shield to be like, you can't judge me as a normal movie because I did this in one take.
Right.
Yeah.
It's there's a defensiveness to it. I will say the gay equivalent, I actually think, is doing like kind of adding on a musical element where you're like, and now like if you're like, and now it's a musical too, and it's sort of like, but you're.
This is what I'll say.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's choreography. I mean, these straight directors do not want to do choreography, so they're having everybody do choreography in disguise.
They're having the crew members do choreography, and they are underpaid and non-union.
Yes,
they are. That's the difference between straight and gay filmmaking. Gay filmmaking, you got the actors doing choreography, and they're getting paid extra for it. Straight filmmaking, the crew members are doing backflips and then getting injured, and they don't have workers' comp. So think about that next time you see Oppenheimer.
And there's not a bed of music. There's nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I actually sort of think, and we are on record as standing Oppenheimer, but I think that the Barbie-Oppenheimer divide perfectly encapsulate this, where it's like, on the one hand, you have Chris Nolan, such a showy, auteurish director, and on the other hand, Greta Gerwig is like, well, make them dance.
Exactly. And I'd rather watch people dance. They're both distracting things in a movie. Like, I think the one take is supposed to be this immersive thing, and I'm always like, oh, now I'm looking at this thing, and I'm not in the movie anymore.
It's gimmick. I mean, this is the thing with gimmicks. You think they can stand on their own, and it's like, well, the fact that I accomplished this gimmick means I am talented or I am good. But in fact, they end up being a distraction because you're focusing on like the sort of meta sort of element of what you're seeing rather than what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, I'm also worried about everybody hitting their mark.
Exactly.
Just the anxiety of going through that entire thing. It's like horrifying for me.
Yeah,
absolutely terrifying. And this is also bringing up the memory of another thing that I think quickly died, but was also, I think, within straight filmmaking, which was those where it was like a still shot, or no, everybody would freeze, and then we would move through the scene while the characters were frozen, the action was frozen. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Absolutely terrible idea, and served no purpose ever. I feel like it was in a comedy in maybe the early 10s or something. It's like, why are we now doing this computer freeze of the character? Everyone's frozen in time. It has nothing to do with the story. It's simply because we have the technology.
Yeah. Do you know who did that recently, actually? And it drove me insane. Did you ever watch The Worst Person in the World?
No,
I never saw it.
Everyone loved it, and it was quirky, and they were young, and they were in love, and they were straight. Congratulations. And there was this famous scene where I can't remember the specifics, but it's like everyone freezes and she like runs to him and then back to where she was, and then things start again or something along those lines. Don't email me. But I was like, okay, if you think this is good, you need to watch 500 Days of Summer.
I was going to say, I'm having I've never seen that movie, but that's what that movie must have been the exact same thing.
Exactly. No, 500 Days of Summer is sort of like the, not to be gender essentialist, but the sort of more feminine gimmicky thing to the one shot.
That movie's full of gimmicks, right?
Yes, 100%.
In a way that's good, or
no?
Is that who are the two leads of that? It's
Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel. It's peak
Right.
Zooey Deschanel, like quirky bangs, sundresses. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, meanwhile, is the perfect male foil. It's like skinny tie, skinny jeans, skinny body.
I have like a thought that I think would be fun to share, because I think it's one of those thoughts that'll be instantly regrettable in like a year or two.
Please go off.
Okay, so people making movies, they get so obsessed with like the technical stuff in general. Like the one shot is just one element of this. When people are like, oh, they got the blah 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 lens, like, or it's like, oh wow, that's called this shot and they do it like this, and I'm sort of like, okay, unless I'm making the film, I don't want to know what the lens is. Like, I don't ever want to know what the shot is called. I just want to watch something, and people like really are like, damn, he's such a lens nerd, and I'm like, okay, like, is he Steven Spielberg? That's the only person I want to be a lens nerd. It's like, if you are a lens nerd, keep it to yourself.
Yeah, you don't go to a concert and hope your friend is like, this is the type of guitar strings they're using. It's like, I don't.
Yeah, this is a G chord, by the way.
Completely. No, I actually think this sort of points to like the context collapse of all media, where like it used to be that if you wanted to read about lenses, you would read like Film Comment. You would read a film magazine. And now suddenly every last loser out there has some opinion about lenses. And I have to read about it on a blog?
Why do I have to read about it?
I'm like, no, truly, like if I'm interested, I'll buy a glossy magazine. It's going to have, Isabelle Huppert on the cover, and I will read about the lenses if that is my interest. But I should not be scrolling through Instagram where I want to see vintage chairs and have someone talking at me about lenses.
Also, like, unless I'm making a film, I'm not going to look up lenses are not exciting to me.
No, absolutely not.
No, you're so right. I mean, I think maybe it's just, it all is part of like the masculine coded like film nerd / cinephile archetype.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is something, I know we believe women, but do we believe men when they say that the cinematography in a film is good? I don't. I think they're making it up. When men say like the cinematography was stunning, I'm always like, you just liked it, I think.
Because it almost is never that impressive. It's almost like, how often are you like, oh my God, that like I would buy that as a picture on my wall? Nobody ever thinks that.
Totally.
If you're looking at a big budget movie, you don't care about the cinematography.
Do you know what I think it is? Is that
keep it to yourself.
Like right now, because of the rise of really low budget, low quality streaming content, it's almost like the way people return to vinyl when MP3s were popular. Now people are like, wow, all of you sheep are watching, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, but I know what real cinematography looks like.
Sure. It's like the bar of entry of enjoying, of like being being art minded is really low now.
Totally. And so it's difficult because you're also like, well, yeah, I agree with you. I actually do want things to look better.
100%.
Yeah, you do want things to look better. But in 20 years, everybody's going to be like, oh, how do we recapture what's the boys?
The magic of all the boys I've loved before.
Right.
Yes.
These same men we're talking about right now will be trying to duplicate that 20 years from now.
Totally. No, it's like, I want things to look better, but honey, I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Just make better movies.
I will show up and I'll watch your movie. I don't need to know anything on the other side of the camera. No,
totally.
Thank you.
I even want to know, like, what I want people to talk about is like the ideas and the feelings and the like the bigger picture. And it's like, why are we so addicted to the lens? It's like, you
are specifically talking about the Oppenheimer thing where he used an IMAX lens for faces.
That's not what I thought I was talking about. But,
oh, really? What are you talking about? Oh,
I was talking about something else, but
okay.
That also makes sense.
Because I feel like literally every time I go online, it's literally like, did you know Chris Nolan used an IMAX lens?
No.
Wow.
I mean, what? It's just a way to avoid talking about any sort of emotion.
Totally.
Any sort of feeling about the movie, right?
Yeah.
You know what though? Here's what I'll say. You know what I love? When people talk when a music video is one long shot. Now,
Well, it's only 3
now we're
minutes.
talking.
Living for.
Now, because this music video is exactly what Bridger is saying. It is both the choreo of the camera and the choreo of the literal dancing. That is a beautiful sexual relationship that
it's fluid
as God intended.
Like a river. Yeah. I mean, it's not interrupting a movie. It's not like, oh, there were all these cuts and now I'm looking at who cares?
Yes.
Wow.
We start and we end 3 minutes later. We got the one take. And this director isn't bothering anybody about it.
Yeah, here's my message to auteurs. Want to show off? Direct a music video.
Please.
And then when you're done with that and you collect the check, go make an adult movie for adults that are not children.
No post-credit scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh.
I mean, yeah. Heck, I don't even mind if my Apple commercials are one shots. I think, sure, have some fun out there. Show me your technical prowess as you are promoting a technical product.
Have you seen that perfume ad with Margaret Qualley?
No.
Is it the dancing one?
The dancing one.
Yeah. I love
It's
that.
like, love that.
Yeah.
Bridger, if you haven't
Walk
seen
me
it,
through
basically
this.
she starts dancing. She just starts, so she's like in a ball gown. She's at a sort of big event. And then she starts dancing kind of crazily. She's literally like doing crazy moves and like going like that and like bouncing off the walls. And I can't remember if it's one take, but it's fun. Or like, oh my God, what is that like Fatboy Slim music video with Christopher Walken? It's like that. There you go. Like that. Those
with,
are. Sorry. Yes.
Oh,
yes,
no,
yes.
with
what's his name?
Christopher Walken. Is that? No.
Christopher
Yeah.
Walken.
The one where he flies through the air.
Everyone, please cut.
Sorry, please cut me saying.
And also, don't be mad at us for taking a second to think of someone's name, because guess what? We're just thoughtful people, okay?
No, I have an effect on everybody because I'm still trying to commit Margaret Qualley to memory. I just recently connected her name with the person. I'm like, okay, we're just going to go through some cycles every day. Think about her, think about who she is and her name. And now she's having her star is rising quickly. So I need to be aware.
Yeah,
of
well,
who
you
she
and the
is.
rest of America, everyone wakes up every day and they're like, God damn it, who is she again? But at least you're doing the work.
To be fair, I knew the video, but I didn't know it was Margaret Qualley. So
she's been she was in Leftovers, is that right?
She was in Leftovers.
Okay, I feel
she just
incredible.
married Jack Antonoff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Weird.
Interesting.
And she's Andy McDowell's daughter, I believe.
Oh.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good for her.
Pretty hard to forget now.
She brings a very different energy than her mom.
Yes. She's way more young.
That is so true.
But I mean, to your point, I think it's like the one-shot take of a commercial. You're saying, did you see that great commercial? Did you see that great music video? Not, did you see the great one-shot take in the commercial? It's just is the commercial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, if you're advertising a perfume or a product or even, heck, a Kylie Minogue song, I think that is your chance to show off your technical prowess because that's sort of what you're there to offer. You didn't, the product exists and then you're there to sort of zhuzh it up.
Pure style.
You're not beholden to some kind of narrative. You're just there showing off your technical prowess. When you're making a movie, how about focus on what she's saying?
Listen to her.
Yeah.
She's speaking.
Yeah.
No, I don't want the cameraman
Wow.
standing in front of a performance.
Exactly. And at what point is a male director doing a single shot just trying to basically distract from a female performance?
Absolutely. He didn't want her in the movie in the first place.
Yeah.
And he's saying, don't forget, I'm here too. I'm watching this up close and personal, by the way.
It's like, if you wanted attention, why didn't you become an actor? Oh, that's right, because you're unattractive.
Yeah.
And you read about lenses on Twitter, and you had to do something with that knowledge.
All male filmmakers just got radicalized because they read about lenses on Reddit.
Lenses are a very upvoted Reddit topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like, look
totally.
at this scene in this movie, and it's like the top Reddit thread, or what do they call it, a Reddit topic?
Honey, we're not alt-right. We don't know.
Sorry, we're not alt-right,
So sorry.
Bridger.
I wish I could have brought more Reddit knowledge to this, but there's a wall around that community that I cannot climb
We're
over.
vote blue no matter who on this podcast.
Yeah. Wow, I'm trying to I didn't mean to tap so hard into my lenses hate. I don't know where that came from.
I love it.
It's the one piece of a camera we know the name of.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
The lens, the on button.
Yeah, the buttons.
You should start talking. You should be like, this camera has an incredible on button. It goes from left to right rather than right to left.
Yeah.
You can really feel Tarantino's use of the button throughout the film.
Yeah.
This is... Yeah, when he turned it on, that was so amazing.
This movie wouldn't exist without that button.
Yeah.
Do cameras have they have buttons. They've got buttons.
Some of them.
Yeah.
They all have at least one button.
Some of them might have switches.
Switch is interesting. I feel like that's dangerous on a camera.
Say more.
You don't want it to accidentally switch off.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely dangerous, but filmmaking, as far as I know, is dangerous.
Oh, in this climate?
Yeah, I think all art is dangerous, and so a trigger is a switch is very accurate.
Absolutely. You know what? Hey, guess what? You know what doesn't have a switch? Truth telling via stand-up comedy, and that's why comedians need to band together, because we are being driven out of
We need to band together, learn about lenses, and make a film.
Endangered species. Absolutely an endangered species.
And our jobs are being replaced by man on the street TikTokers.
Brought it back. Woo!
I have not come across a single one of these men on the street people. I maybe it's just the way I use any internet, but
I have to say, Bridger, I do agree with you. I fully trust Sam, and that's why I immediately yes-anded his observation. But I've said this before, I have an addictive personality, and that's why I drew the line at TikTok. I said, I already, I've taken on all these other platforms. I can't do TikTok. So I simply have never seen a single person like the people you're describing, Sam.
But you can immediately picture it. I mean, it's such
I can immediately picture it, and it's terrifying, by the way.
It'll probably happen to one of us in our lifetime. Somebody is going to approach.
I mean, that's quite literally my greatest fear. I actually, when I first moved to New York, I was afraid that I would be on some sort of prank show against my will. And now my fear is that I'll be interviewed for a man on the street, and it'll be like, what's your type in 2 words?
Yeah, and then you have to be like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be photographed with that lens.
Yeah. Okay, and now look who's bringing it back, and now look who's making the little full circle.
I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep up over here.
So, Bridger, as someone that hosts a podcast alone, how do you call out a co-host, or how do you do it? Do you get scared?
It's such a lonely place to be. I am so jealous of you two.
How do you develop chemistry when there's no one else there?
There is nothing there. Every week it's a reset, and there's just this dire need to have one other person just there. Obviously there's a producer, but you need one other person on a microphone to build the lore of the podcast at the very least. None of that's happening for me. Every week I have to pick it up by myself.
A podcast with no lore, that's like a camera with no on button.
Woo! Yeah, to be with a guest and not be able to say like, oh yeah, remember when we said this thing?
Mm-hmm. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It simply doesn't happen. And I mean, if you run into a guest that's just not willing to participate, you're now trapped. You're trapped for an hour.
Oh, absolutely. You are trapped in a one single shot take.
What do you do, actually?
You just
This is my actual question.
Begin to resent the person.
Totally.
And there's an emotional thing you go through afterward where there's anger. There's questioning, can I do this? Do I even have this skill anymore? And then you start brainstorming, what podcast could I do with a co-host? What would that look like? And then you realize that there are simply too many podcasts, and there's no way to launch another podcast at this point.
We got in just under the wire.
Yeah, tell that to Margaret Qualley. Isn't it crazy that, no matter how long you do all of this, you can still fully eat shit?
oh, you can really do it. And you blame yourself. Blame yourself every time. I think, well, actually, I do blame the guest frequently, but it's a few hours after the episode is recorded. Then I can start thinking about that person.
But yeah, but then you're like, you think of these like sort of, not to say that I wouldn't call us interviewers, but you think of these iconic broadcasters and you're like, this person, there could be a rock on the chair and they would get something out of the rock and people would be like, wow, I never thought of rocks that way.
Right. And that's not in my skill set.
Yeah, I'm not. The thing is, my alternative sensibilities often get in my way of being an incredible interviewer, I would argue. Because I am always like, whenever someone's on, especially someone with like when someone has a specialty, I will be like, well, I don't really care. Like, I'm going to talk to them.
That's me. I feel the same way.
I'm going to talk to them as me, and we're going to connect somehow.
I don't want to know what makes them specifically interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, if I had Britney Spears on here, I'd be like, well, is she going to jump in on the bit? Like, I'm going to start doing a bit and see if she jumps in.
And that's what people pay for, by the way, because if someone wants to see a hard-hitting interview with Britney Spears, I don't think they're going to tune into this podcast.
100%.
Yet.
Yeah. We'll see.
There's like
I do wonder.
A couple years in, you pivot. People want a new, as we grow older, they'll be like, oh, they've matured into the interview. Now they can really get deep.
Yeah, I would love that. Bridger, have you ever had someone on who's really serious? Have you gone in your interview era?
There's no, I've never had anyone really serious. There was one person that was surprisingly earnest in a way that I just could not wrap myself around, and it was just
we've
5 minutes in, it felt like 2 hours, and there was just, I had no idea how to handle it.
When someone starts talking about how comedy is based in truth, you got to say, let's hit that off button on the camera, mama.
Why did you bring that to our podcast?
This lens cap is about to be put over the lens.
Okay. As we all know, I don't believe anything I say, and we're all lying. Unless you agree with us, then it's all true.
Of course.
But I will say something I think what bothers me, the lens, I'm trying to examine my feeling towards lenses, because clearly there's something deeper going on here. And I think I wish, not to democratize media even more than it already is, but I wish that we could all, like, I wish I could be like, well, I know how I want it to look. I want it to look like they made it look.
Right.
Like that looks good. I want it to look like that. And then whenever I try to like make something look nice, it like looks like shit still. And I'm like, okay, so, but I don't want to have to learn science and math in order to make something look good, because I have all these feelings that I'm feeling and trying to express. So how come I have to learn science and math in order to express feelings? I think whoever's making these lenses needs to.
But it's not even, that's not your job. There's somebody else that can do that for you. You should never even have to think about the lens. The moment we start thinking about the lens, we have an Oppenheimer.
Bridger, you're right.
Absolutely. As in a great film, by the way. That's where we draw the line. We're making fun of all auteurist filmmakers, but when someone brings up Oppenheimer, we're like, well, actually, that was really good.
We did. The most off-brand thing was that we both got out of Oppenheimer and like, damn, that was really fucking good.
I was like, I believe in the movies again. We have to stop. We have to do nuclear disarmament right now. I'm going to the UN.
I was like, no, this is so beautiful. I was like, men should direct all movies.
Would either of you watch that movie again?
That's actually a great question.
That's
what do you
a great
think,
question.
Sam?
Probably not.
Not any. I guess, you know what? I bet you I'll watch it again when it's like back in theaters for its 10th anniversary. I think that's when I'll watch it again.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta see it in a theater. Gotta see it in a theater.
Well, the lens, it's not meant to be viewed on your phone. That lens.
Hey, you can't just see it in a theater. You've got to see it in an IMAX theater.
In an IMAX theater. Although, I did see it in a normal theater. Sorry.
Yeah, I actually saw it in a normal theater.
Sorry, I don't have $350.
Yeah, and 4 weeks to wait. Bridger, did you see Oppenheimer?
In a regular theater.
Yeah.
And so it was just loud.
Like an American.
It was loud.
It was loud.
It was really loud, actually. It was
loud, yeah.
And, it was just an experience. And then I left and I thought about it for maybe 10 minutes, and now I'll never think about it again.
Here's what I'll say. Maybe let's talk about lenses, more talk about mics, because someone needed to turn down the levels on that movie.
And literally, the sound quality in all films and TV is insane. And we need to figure it out.
It's gotten so... I mean, it really is a problem. In earnest, an issue for me.
Yeah. It's too much.
Well, you guys, as soon as the strikes are over, we have to fix all this together. We have to band all the unions together, and we have to say, how can we lower the volume on these films? Bridger, any final thoughts on... Oh, wait, Sam, were you going to say something?
No, basically, I was just saying that I want there to be one lens that we can all use, and maybe it has different settings like on a phone, but maybe I'm just describing phones, and that's actually what I don't want.
Yeah, it should have like black and white and sepia, period. End of list.
Yeah, it should have Netflix filter, and it should have like art
prestige
movie filter.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, Bridger, any final thoughts on one-shot takes? Wait.
This
correct,
is actually
right?
a problem.
Okay.
Because I don't think anyone even knows what to officially call it, right? I feel like everybody knows what it is, but like it's like a one-shot take, a one-take shot, a single shot.
Wait, no, it is one-shot take, because one-take shot would be like they got it in one take. Am I wrong?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
That sounds right.
Now look who's...
Yeah. If you are Paul Thomas Anderson, don't write in.
Unless you want to be on the pod, and unless you want to jump in on the bit,
or unless you want to cast us a la Alana Haim, because we are available and we can pivot to prestige actor anytime.
Oh yeah, of course we can pivot.
I would love to see a Paul Thomas Anderson, have him do a movie where every shot is a like 3-second take, where it's just so disorienting. Maybe that's the direction. I want Paul Thomas Anderson to... Yeah, I think he should definitely do a really heavily edited, jarring film that's a coming of age of two 30-something gay guys.
Yeah. It's two 30-something gay guys, and they decide that they're gonna come of age finally. They're like, enough is enough, I'm gonna come of age. This is
it's time. I've decided to come of age.
You have not seen this sort of coming of age tale before. This is a new take on it.
I'm fully an adult, and I'm gonna be comfortable with my body now.
Well, good luck.
Wow. I mean, should we do our final segment?
I think that's truly the only thing left. I think let me say I've learned a lot. And let me also say, as the one who had suggested post-credit sequences, the way I was wrong, and the way that this episode could not have gone any differently, we were always meant to talk one-shot takes.
Feels that way.
I think we were as well.
I was afraid of how sophisticated. I was like, oh, go for the mass appeal topic. Go for pop. Go pop. But no, because we are an art film of a podcast. We are not To All the Boys I've Loved Before. And the fact that we lean into that shows that we know our worth. Just like Greta Gerwig.
Just like Greta. Yeah, and I guess I do want to add a disclaimer that if this annoyed you, if we seemed ignorant, it was a bit, and we are actually really smart, and when it comes to lenses, we can talk your ears off. I think that's the only...
Bro, you into lenses?
Bro, do you lens? Seriously.
You lens?
It's called lensing, and the teens are loving it.
Oh my God. We don't even have time to talk about this, but do you ever see how there's a photo shoot or something for like, Elle magazine, and then someone will post about it on Instagram, and they'll be like, lensed by Sam Taggart?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
hey,
I'm just, my back is about to break when I see lensed by. Who? Where did that come from? It's like in the last 5 years, lensed by. No, horrible.
We might not be able to take down lens culture, but we can at least take down lensed by culture with this. At least stop saying lensed by, and then we can talk about the Chris Nolan of it all next time.
Lensed by.
That's rough. That's really rough. Okay, well, let's do our final seg.
Let's do it.
Bridger, our final segment is called Shoutouts, and in it we pay homage to the grand, straight, oral tradition of the radio shoutout. So we basically give a shout out to anything that we enjoy. Imagine it's, 2001 and you're at TRL in Times Square shouting out to your squad back home, but about anything that you like. George, would it be at all possible if you had one?
It would be my honor to go first. And thank you for asking.
Okay, Slay.
Okay. What's up, listeners? I want to give a quick shout out to, that's right, the nest of pigeons that is living inside my window. It has now been there for, honestly, the past 5 recordings. I've talked about it with Sam off mic, but I've made the decision not to bring it up, not to invade my own privacy by bringing it up on the podcast. But I cannot hold it in any longer. When I got back from vacation, one entire room of our apartment smelled, I'm not joking, like if you took bird shit and did times 50 to it. We have now closed the door and are unable to enter that room. We have called a professional and they have said that we have to wait for the birds to become full size and fly away unless we want to murder them with our own hands, which, as a friend of all animals, I refuse to do. I have not been able to use a room of my apartment for 4 weeks. There is a nest of birds and they make noise constantly. And my shout out, I guess, is knowing that this episode is going to now come out in a few weeks when they won't be there any longer. I'm trying to look on the bright side and I'm trying to think, maybe there's going to be a time in the future when I'm nostalgic for the birds, when I, as a father, as an adopted father of these birds, miss them and think about, where did they go? Where are they now? Where are they flying to now? Are they migrating? Because currently I want to kill them, but I know that ethically I shouldn't. So shout out to the birds and shout out to the film The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock, lensed by Alfred Hitchcock, and shout out to all film and all animal wildlife. Woo!
Okay, now I have to do one, and oh brother, let me think. I'm what have I done in the last 24 hours? Okay, I'm ready. What's up, everyone around the world? I want to give a huge shout out to the mystery flooding in my gym. I have been going to a new gym, and we went on tour last week, and we came back for a moment. And when I went on tour, there was flooding in the gym, and there was not a storm. I don't know where the flooding came from, but I said, "It happens, girlfriend. Sometimes there's going to be flooding." And I just said, "I'm sure it'll be fixed when I'm back." Well, now I am back, and I have been going to the gym for 2 days, and it is still flooding, and actually more so. I'd say 1/3 of the gym is roped off. It said, "Caution, do not enter, wet, wet, wet." And I said, that's a significant portion of a gym. 1/3 of it roped off? I don't know what the hell is going on. I almost want to ask them, is there something I can do to help? Because they are lost, and the caution tape is not chic, and don't get me wrong, it's not a nice gym. I don't think it should be amazing, but sweetie pies, you need to figure out what the hell is going on, and is it safe? I love New York City, and I love the unpredictability of life and love. XOXO, Sam.
Woo! Wow, I love that both of ours were actually passive-aggressive shout-outs to things that are pissing us off.
Yeah, normally we are just saying things we like, but I was so inspired by yours, and I thought it would be funny to share a little slice of life.
This feels like such a trap
Bridger,
for me. There's I can't take there's no good direction for me at this point. Ernest is going to feel strange.
Sure.
Yeah, you could just go if there's anything you want to complain about in your life, something in disarray, that could actually fit the theme.
No, I have something. I have something I can talk about in earnest.
Perfect.
Hi, everybody. I want to give a shout out to Riverside video chat. We've all heard of Zoom. We've all heard of Google Lens? No, Google their
Meet?
thing Google Meet, which everyone hates. And then there's a Microsoft one that no one uses, and that one's really jarring. What's it called?
Teams, right? Microsoft Teams?
Microsoft Teams? That has nothing to do with video conferencing.
No.
Whereas with Riverside, this is my first time on Riverside. I mean, what a calm word to get in an email. You're going to be going to Riverside. True. Next up, you log into the service. You're always worried about it not being Zoom, which, by the way, I absolutely cannot do anymore. It shuts me down emotionally in a way that I just can't operate on Zoom anymore. It's a bad product tied to one of the most traumatic things that has happened to every single one of us. They've got to just get a new name or something. But Riverside, they've got these nice kind of profile windows. They're not the squares that we're all so used to. It's more of a trading card. It feels like we're all standing shoulder to shoulder, waiting for the subway to come. just talking.
Yeah.
It's the first video conferencing that I've used in now years where I feel mildly relaxed. And I want to just give a shout out to whatever company's running Riverside. I don't know that they're getting the attention they need because I've never heard of it until now. But I've had a perfectly pleasant experience.
Wow.
That was
We
beautiful.
tricked you. It's Halliburton that runs it, and you are on record as loving it. Well, Bridger,
Wow.
I have to say, this has been an absolute delight.
I've had a
Thank you
wonderful
so
for
much
doing
doing
the pod.
Thank
And
you.
listen to I Said No Gifts.
I Said No Gifts.
Sure.
That is hosted by only Bridger Winegar and no other gay man.
The listener has to kind of be there as my co-host.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch Bridger squirm as he hosts a podcast completely alone.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Okay, bye.